wherever you be, come pay attention unto me. It's in these few lines I have penned down, and all in praise of Lisburn town.
This is our town, Lisburn, a town to be proud of, a town with its own character and its own history. This is not one of your modern upstarts of mushroom growth, not a satellite growing out of something greater than itself. Lisburn has its own individual roots, stretching deep into a long-ago history that many of our Ulster towns would see only as a myth. Through the long centuries, Lisburn has stood quietly and confidently watching the changing face of our province. She has not been perturbed by foolish ambitious thoughts of size and grandeur, nor have the ravages of time and the clamour all around in the least shaken the strong, quiet faith that she would remain. She has watched communities come and go, has given refuge to the very makers of Ulster's history, and watched them disappear to make way for the new builders. Almost contemptuously, she has watched in the far and near distance the mud huts grow to villages, and from villages to towns, but even as the towns grew to a swaggering self-importance, and the more brash adorned themselves with city status, Lisburn smiled. Let them rush and bustle and squabble, for she alone held the secrets of the Lagan Valley. She could look back with pride and forward in confidence. They were ashamed to look back, as their future only held the misgivings of an overgrown, immature youth. Situated between Belfast and Dublin, a lesser town might easily have become a whistle-stop between the two cities, but Lisburn is never referred to as being between Belfast and Dublin. For too long her people have known the truth, that two roads lead from Lisburn.
See the pyramids along the Nile, watch the sunrise on a...
In education, housing, industry and modern amenities, Lisburn is up to date. Join us now as we journey through the past and into the present of our town.
See the marketplace in old Algiers, send me photographs and souvenirs, just remember when a dream...
The first recorded use of the name Lisburn rather than Lisnagarvey was in 1661. The meaning of the newer name is not known, but the older Gaelic form meant the Fort of the Gamblers. An old map, undated, but believed to be about 1640, shows the marketplace Lisnagarvey almost exactly as Market Square, Lisburn is today. The town consisted of the houses on each side of the square and those in Castle Street, and Bridge Street, or New Bridge Street as it was then known. Lisnagarvey was settled by English and Welshmen under Sir Fulk Conway, who built the castle about 1622 on the site of the present convent school. The houses within the town totaled 52, beyond lived Irish. Of the castle and walls, only a fragment remains, an old gateway, now in sorry disrepair. Where the cathedral now stands, Conway built a family chapel in 1623, later to become the town church. Conway's successors saw stirring times in Lisnagarvey. The town was attacked in 1641 by an Irish force under Sir Phelim O'Neill and Sir Con McGuinness. It was defeated by Conway's troop of horse and the townsfolk under Major, later Sir George Rowden. Ryden was wounded in the fight and the attackers driven off, but only after the town had been reduced to ashes. The parish register was preserved, and indicative of the troubled state of the country at the time, showed most of the marriages recorded as of townswomen to soldiers and English and Welshmen, a practice apparently not yet eradicated. The attacking force had encircled the town early in the day, the main force encamping above the town at the Warren, undoubtedly the Sandy Lane Warren Gardens area. Piper Hill is reputed to have been named after an incident in the battle when the head of a decapitated piper rolled down the steep hill. After the Restoration, the church known as St. Thomas's was granted cathedral status by King. The charter, which is still preserved, is stored in the rectory safe. Sir George Ryden, who died in Lisburn in 1684, is believed to be buried under the memorial plaque in the cathedral floor. The Conways built a second castle at Portmore, Ballinderry, and it is said that at one time they tried to drain the Portmore Loch, or the Little Loch as it is now known. This was attempted by the erection of huge pumps driven by windmills, but as you can see, the loch is there still and is now a pleasant place for boating and fishing. Bishop Jeremy Taylor also came to Portmore ostensibly as chaplain, but in fact was virtually a refugee from Cromwell's Parliament as an avowed royalist. The Irish oak roof of the pre-Reformation church at Portmore was used in the church which Taylor was later to build at Ballinderry, or the town of the oak trees. This latter church is today quite unspoiled and oak furnished in the severe style of that period. We can be grateful for this when we see the now ruinous state of the once splendid Portmore Castle. Taylor, as lecturer at Lisburn, also resided at 13 Castle Street, and many of the fine sermons that he preached in Lisburn were composed in the quiet garden at the rear of the house. Brief mention is made in the cathedral register of the Battle of the Boyne. William passed through Lisburn on his way to the Boyne and was entertained either at the inn, which stood on the site of the modern northern bank, or at the temporary residence of Schomberg, also at 13 Castle Street. The cathedral churchyard holds some historic graves, notably that of Louis Cromellin. Cromellin, a Huguenot refugee from religious persecution in France, received a grant from William III to foster the linen industry in Ireland. At first a cottage industry on hand looms and later on powered machines, linen became the staple industry of the district and produced a material which was the envy of the world. Unfortunately, the modern trade is itself suffering the fate of the hand looms, being largely supplanted by modern textiles. For a time, the Huguenots existed as a separate religious community, French-speaking, but through intermarriage with the native population, lost the language and also the church, which building was to become a courthouse and, ultimately, the town hall. Traces of these foreigners in our midst are in place names and family names like Duberde, Boomer, Waring, Pettigrew and Breathet. Perhaps it was the influence of Jeremy Taylor, or perhaps the Huguenots, but religion has always held an honoured place in Lisburn. We believe it is just another part of the character of the people of Lisburn. Their individual belief in what is good and true leads them naturally to the place of worship. And Lisburn abounds in well-attended churches of all denominations. Showing the volunteers firing a volley in Market Square is further proof of the unchanging face of the town centre. One of those shown watching the volunteers is Henry Munro, a Lisburn man and general of the rebels at the Battle of Ballinderry in the rising of 1798. After the battle, a woman informed on Munro. He was arrested and beheaded, but the words of this old ballad will describe what happened better than any commentary.
Brave General Munro, and high o'er the courtyard stuck his head on the spear to make all the united men tremble with fear.
The town's close connection with the army over the years is apparent in place names like that part of Castle Gardens called the Rounds, a corruption of the rounds or beat walked by the sentries in the days of the castle, in Barrack Lane, site of an old army barracks, and in the choice of Lisburn for Thiepval Barracks, which is perhaps the most modern in the United Kingdom. Thiepval Barracks is the headquarters of the British Army in Northern Ireland, and quite a number of local civilian personnel are employed there. Relations between the Army and the people of Lisburn are on the highest level, many soldiers playing a full part in local community activities. But in modernisation and enthusiasm, the Territorial Army is not far behind. As you can see from these shots of them setting out on a weekend exercise. People are unaware that the inscription on the Nicholson Memorial in Market Square is incorrect in claiming Lisburn as the birthplace of the hero of Derriaghy. John Nicholson was in fact born in Dublin. A rather more flattering likeness is kept in the cathedral vestry. Burned by an Irish army in 1641, by a royalist army under Sir George Monro 8 years later, accidentally in 1707, a fact recorded on a plaque on the Assembly Room wall, and again, partly so in the political strife of 1922, Lisburn is today safeguarded against the conflagrations of the past by regular and part-time firemen of the Northern Ireland Fire Authority. The headquarters for this authority is based in Lisburn and forms the nerve centre for excellent firefighting services throughout the whole area. The very latest equipment, including vehicles, radio communication and warning systems, are available at the headquarters building in Castle Street. Castle Gardens are a gift to the town from Sir Richard Wallace, heir to the Conway estates. Sir Richard also gave his town house, which was to become the nucleus of the present technical school, and the fine park which bears his name. Wallace Park provides not only beauty and rest, but wonderful recreational facilities for the townspeople. Lisburn can be grateful to Sir Richard for this splendid park, as without his foresight and influence, these lovely grounds would in all probability been overgrown with houses and factories.
Here in my heart I'm alone and so lonely. Here in my heart I just yearn for you only.
At nearby Derriaghy are grown the world-famous McGreedy roses, which are sent to the far ends of the earth.
To hold you. Hold you so near, ever close to my heart.
Yet unaided nature provides loveliness in every season around us here.
That you can't take this arms I give gladly.
The people of our town are proud of the fine health services provided in the district by the South Antrim Hospitals Committee, which works on behalf of the Northern Ireland Hospitals Authority.
Here is my heart, my life and my whole, dear.
This fine hospital on Dublin Road is housed in what was once the Lisburn workhouse, but now, after very extensive rebuilding and modernisation, is one of the best in the province.
Say that you can't take.
Specialist services are provided for surgery, medicine, orthopaedics, physiotherapy, gynecology and obstetrics, as well as having a very extensive outpatients department.
So badly. Here is my heart, my life and my all, dear. Please be mine and stay here in my
Bow Street, which has been built over an old stream still flowing to the River Lagan, is outwardly a modern shopping centre, but in fact has changed little in layout from the 19th century, as you can judge from an old print of that period.
I pass your house with misty eyes.
Many old houses and cottages of the same period still exist in various parts of the town, some of them marking the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, being built to house the workers of the then rising linen mills.
Good luck to him good luck to you. I count the dreams that won't come true.
Since the end of the Second World War, Lisburn Urban Council, in cooperation with the Northern Ireland Housing Trust, have completed many fine new housing schemes in various parts of the town.
I could hardly keep from crying out loud.
Altogether, and including private enterprise, over 1,500 new houses have been built within the urban area. But this still has not satisfied the demand for new living space which a progressive and growing town requires.
Outside of heaven.
One of the most interesting features, of course, of these new sites are the shopping centres, similar to this one at the Tona estate.
Outside of heaven.
The River Lagan, which flows through the Lagan Valley to the sea at Belfast, has, through the centuries, played an important part in the life of our town. In the early days, when the town existed only on the west bank, the river was a formidable barrier which had to be forded by any enemy attacking the town from the south and east. Today, the river meanders its way through lovely stretches of countryside around the town, providing tranquil and beautiful havens of peace from the rush and bustle of modern town life. Local people today do not fully appreciate the wonderful and lovely countryside of the Lagan Valley around Lisburn. Large stretches of the river were widened and deepened to form the Lagan Canal, which was operated by the Lagan Navigation Company for the transport of coal and other goods between Belfast and the inland towns. It is indeed sad that this picturesque and useful waterway should have fallen into its present state of neglect and disrepair, never again seeing the heavy barges sail on the Union Bridge, or hear the children cry, "Mister, give us a sail up to the 6 locks." The canal has long given up its fight to compete with the railways in the transport of goods to and from the town. The railways, in turn, are now facing fierce competition from road transport both in passengers and goods, and, in all probability, will fall into disuse as did the canal before. Education has always been of prime importance in Lisburn. Here we see the old Tona school, known as the Raggedy Bap. This was probably the first school in the country to supply free meals. Books and all school materials were provided free, and at Christmas each pupil received a present. But from humble beginnings, the educational system grew to become one of the finest in the province. The young people of Lisburn are thoroughly prepared for every occupation. But, like children everywhere, conkers, or cheesers as it is known locally, is a lot more fun than lessons. Indeed, they learn everything at an early age in Lisburn. Here we see the new Lisnagarvey Intermediate Boys School, which has accommodation and facilities for the education of 800 pupils. At Forthill Intermediate School, a similar number of girls are given a comprehensive secondary education which includes domestic science, sport and drama. As you can see, some of the new schools are extremely modern in design, and in this one, the girls even have a fully furnished flat in which they learn the principles of practical housekeeping. All of the new schools have well-equipped gymnasiums for the pupils to do their physical training. No wonder the health of the youngsters of Lisburn has improved steadily over the past half-century. Here we see the famous Quaker school, whose scholars adorn professions throughout the world. And, although not shown here, nearby is the well-known Wallace High School. Pupils and subjects have now outgrown the old technical school. A magnificent new building suffices the most modern needs. The young people are prepared for all the professions, many availing themselves of the facilities within the school to improve their qualifications for industry. A magnificent new building suffices the most modern needs. The young people are prepared for all the professions, many availing themselves of the facilities within the school to improve their qualifications for industry. These young men do their mechanical and scientific training on the most modern machinery and equipment. Indeed, the school is the most advanced technical college in the province. Many of the boys are on day release courses from some of the major industrial concerns in Lisburn and Belfast. As well as receiving general education, the girls specialise in typing, shorthand, bookkeeping, and various other commercial subjects. while other girls are better suited to the more practical subject of domestic science and preparedness for the future. Since the days of the Huguenots, the principal industry of our town has been the manufacture of linen and fine damask. Unfortunately, due to competition from modern textiles made from nylon and terylin, the demand for linen is steadily declining. In this factory at Hilden, however, production is booming in the manufacture of hand-painted damask, over 700 table covers being turned out every week. This is a remarkable quantity when it is remembered that each basic colour is applied by hand painting and developed to bring out the true colour in a somewhat similar way to photography. One of the more recent industries to come to our town is the mass production of top quality shirts for the home and English market. In this factory, which employs nearly 100 girls, over 3,000 first-quality shirts are produced every week, with the aid of the most modern machinery available today. Another interesting industry is engaged in such embroidery on a large scale. This factory, which employs over 50 people, turns out approximately 67,000 items of embroidery every week. The finished products are distributed to the British and Commonwealth markets, while quite a quantity is sold in local stores. This is one of the largest egg processing factories in the country and supplies products to some of the best-known food manufacturing companies. The eggs are processed by the latest methods and are graded and sorted automatically, some of the machines being designed and built at the factory. Last year, Northern Ireland exported shell eggs to Great Britain to the value of £22 million. Surplus eggs are converted into melange and hard frozen at sub-zero temperatures before dispatched to bakeries for use in the making of cakes. The principal industries of our town is the manufacture of furniture, first established in the town late in the 19th century. Now, several modern factories employing hundreds of skilled operatives produce all kinds of household, school and office furniture, in addition to radio and television cabinets. In this factory at Saintfield Road, high-grade nursery furniture is produced on a large scale, in addition to reproduction bedroom and dining room furniture. Children's cot mattresses are also being efficiently turned out, helping to increase the already huge volume of manufactured goods flowing from our town. At nearby Lambeg exists a small family business which specialises in the production of handmade pottery. This is the only establishment of its type in Northern Ireland. In fact, there are less than 1 dozen handmade pottery concerns in the whole of the British Isles. The products are made from clay, which is obtained in Northern Ireland at Coalisland. This clay is superior to imported clay, being much easier to fire. The products turned out by this home industry are in big demand by American and other foreign tourists, not to mention the home market. Recent customers have included the Mayor of New York City. Empire Day is the Easter parade of Lisburn, and personally, I think commentary would spoil such style and beauty. Sport in all its forms has always played an important part in the life of Lisburn, and many international figures have spent their early days on the playing fields of our town. All kinds of sports are provided for, both in summer and winter. They say that Drake refused to leave his game of bowls, but it is at this point that we must take our leave, and thank you for joining us in our journeys through past and present Lisburn, and remind you once again that this is our town.
So it's farewell, father and mother too. Likewise, my darling, I bid adieu. I have left my parents of higher renown. So goodbye, love, and Lisburn town.